All right, now we're about to read chapter 4 of MAEVE, and this one's called Selflessness. Alright, so this is the chapter that's really supposed to hook people. I mean, I was hooked by the first chapter, but, Alright, let's get right into it. And it's from Ethan's perspective. It's already nighttime? I didn't plan on taking this long. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I haven't done any work like this for more than a year. I really need to start renting a carriage. Having to walk everywhere while carrying a briefcase filled with medical supplies is not something I've ever enjoyed. I hope Maeve is alright. Knowing her, she's probably either staring at a wall or stuck within the wall she was staring at. How she would manage that? I don't know. But she'd find a way. I finally arrived back home, setting down my briefcase on the kitchen counter. I noticed the kitchen light fixtures are still on. I didn't notice it until now due to the lighting being so dim. Did Maeve forget to turn them off? I just bought those, Maeve. You know how much they cost? I sigh, turning them off with a turn of a knob under the crystal fixture. I reach under the kitchen counter and grab an unused candle. With the strike of a lighter, I light the wick. With it, I begin traversing up the stairs, stopping in front of Maeve's door. Looking down, I see a portion of the dark floor lit with a streak of bright light extending out the cracks of the door. Taking hold of the doorknob, I turn the handle and swing the door open. The first thing I see is Maeve staring down at the book I gave her with the blankest of expressions. Huh? It's not a wall, but I wasn't completely off. Hey, I'm back! Maeve looks up from the book and instead of saying something like, "Welcome back," or "Glad you're home safe," she has to go with, "That was longer than 3 hours." She was always leading with the sass. I really need to teach her how to be more polite to others and clean that dirty mouth of hers. It's not that I have anything against cursing. If I did, I'd be a hypocrite. Maybe she's only like this around me and not others. I haven't seen her around anyone else besides Vincent, and she did pretty well around him. Maybe that's it. Actually, she grew up on the street learning how to steal under the worst kinds of people just so she could keep herself from starving to death, so probably not. Yeah, sorry, I had to do a few extra errands before I came home. Do you like the book? Her face rearranges into a contortion of perplexed expression, only to shortly shift back a moment later. It's hard to understand, but yes. You'll get it down eventually. I walk over and take a seat next to her on the bed. Leaning over, I scan the open pages to see where she's at. So how far are you? Maeve points to a section on the page. Here. Don't just point, say the page number. Oh, Maeve looks down nervously at the page number on the bottom of the page. She sporadically looks from me to the book at random intervals. It is 123? Correct! She looks back down at the book once more and smiles. It's been a while since I've done numbers with her. It's really easy for her to understand English. It's really easy for her to understand English as a language, like if it's spoken to her. It's speaking it that she struggles with. Not only that, but pronouncing it correctly is fairly difficult for her as well. Her accent is still a little thick. She really struggles with her S's and TH's, pronouncing them with a Z. The struggles of being French, I suppose. I place my hand on her back to give her some indication of praise. However, her expression shifts to something I wasn't expecting. She looks sad and dejected. I quickly remove my hand. Is she sick? Was it something I said? What's wrong? She mutters under her breath so softly I can't make out a word she is saying. My age. Huh? My age. My family. My home. Why have you never asked about my past? Oh, that's what's bothering her. Well, it was bound to come up at some point. Good thing I've prepared for this. Okay, don't screw this up. Because, unless you want to talk about it, I won't ask. Maeve tilts her head as I continue. Because, if I did ask, it would involve forcing you to reflect upon a past that you don't enjoy remembering. I'm just assuming here, but most people don't end up as thieves unless their life was previously miserable. Besides, you telling me that doesn't really offer any important life lessons for you. The only lesson it would encourage now is hatred and regret. There's a short pause. Maeve twiddles her thumbs and hesitantly mutters, I want to talk about it. I give an extending sigh. This could lead somewhere ugly if I start asking random questions. I'll have to choose my words carefully. Alright, then let's start with this. I point towards the purple diamond-shaped necklace on Maeve's neck. That crystal necklace. Tell me about it. I never see you without it. Maeve pulls back reluctantly, gripping heavily onto the piece of jewelry. My mother gave it to me. It's important to me. I could have guessed that much. It protects me. I can use it to make everyone near me dark? I raise an eyebrow. Like, color? I don't think that's what she means. I watch her shift her hands around in the air, trying to think of the right words. It makes it dark for seeing. It is hard to see. Ah, that makes a lot more sense, but still. That's not how a mana crystal works. That sounds like an ability. An ability? Some people call them talents, but they're wrong. An ability is something that you can call upon to manipulate mana in a way nobody else can. Like, I have a healing ability. I can use mana from a crystal to heal minor wounds, just not bone marrow, muscle fiber, or nerve cells. It accelerates the regenerative side of cells, not the fibrosis side. It's one of the reasons why I became a doctor. That and having a photographic memory, but that's besides the point. My point is, you have a skill. You may have more than one, though that's kinda rare. The reason I say this is because people who discover they have an ability at an early age normally end up having another in their adulthood. I shrug my shoulders. But I digress. Here, can you try using it now? Maeve's eyes flutter around as she quickly tries to gather herself. Yes? When she said the necklace makes it hard to see, I didn't expect the complete obliteration of my eyesight. The moment she grabbed the necklace, I couldn't even see my own hand. As my vision begins to return, I look down at the crystal necklace to see if it still has that faded purple tint. It doesn't. The color has completely faded to black. Since she's used it before, that only confirms it. So it's a recharge crystal. Recharge? It's one of the two types of storage for mana crystals. One gathers mana from its surroundings until it reaches its capacity, and the other is mined from the ground for a one-time use. A recharge crystal is normally used for abilities, and a battery crystal is usually for ammunition. They each have their pros and cons. Maeve raised her hand as if to indicate for me to slow down. No, I mean, what does that word recharge mean? I know how mana crystals work. I've stolen them to sell, so I learned about them that way. I just didn't know what you meant by ability, or what recharge means. I knew what an ability is. No, I mean, I knew that abilities exist. I did not know what it was called in English. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, in French, recharger means about the same thing. It's spelled similarly. I'll give you a book on mana theory one day. It should help. Okay. So that's stone. Your mom gave it to you? She nods her head. Yes. Where is she now? Dead. Okay, blunt. Well, do you mind telling me what she was like? I don't remember too much. My mother was human, and my father. She pauses and bites her tongue. Your father was what? Wait, you're a half-breed? What are you a half-breed of? She lowers her head. I don't want to say. It's okay, go on, you can tell me. Whatever you are, I promise my opinion on you will not change. I'm half Tigran. I choke. You're half Tigran? Wow, that's a lot to take in. Certainly explains a lot. Explains what? Like how you learn so fast. What do you know about Tigrans? I know we're similar to cats, and despised. Anything else? Not really. Well, Tigrans can be similar to cats, or tigers. Technically, they're under the same branch. I'm not aware of the major differences, since anything regarding them is either banned by the government or forgotten. Yeah, because we're hated. Ugh, Maeve, people hate Tigrans because of a bunch of old fairy tales about the death cat. Those stories aren't real. I just don't believe in them. There's no way some half-Tigran, cursed by a god nobody has ever seen since the moon exploded bright things about the apocalypse. Moon exploded brings about the apocalypse. And I know for a fact that half-Tigran is not you. My mother used to tell me those stories all the time. I know that I'm not that cat. I just. Look, let's move on. Tell me about your mom. What was she like? My mom was nice. She died protecting me. The magistrate found out there were resistance members in my hometown. My mother refused to leave. She wanted to fight with them, so the magistrate bombed us with mortar fire. I get up off the bed and begin walking over to a bookshelf in the room. I've gotten over it. That's good. As horrible as it is, It's never good to put motivation behind vengeance. You get nowhere when you do that. Revenge is nothing but an excuse for motivation. I pull out a book from the shelf, opening it with a few turns of each page. What about your father? What about him? I stop flipping pages and look at her. What do you mean by that? He left my mom the moment he found out she was pregnant. She told me he did that to protect us, but if the Tigrants ever found out, they'd have us killed. Funny how the most hated group hates their own. I look entirely human. No ears, fur, tail, eyes. None of it. Probably the only reason I'm still alive. Maeve. Forget it. Doesn't bother me anymore. You're the only father I'll ever need. Don't ever say that. Why? Because somewhere out there, your father is still alive, loving you as much as any father could. How would you know that? Because, as you said, I'm a father, and a father would know that. She blinks as I put her own words in her mouth. I smile and kneel down to show her the book I'm holding. This is getting really good. Now here, look, you said you were how old? 15. How old were you when they attacked your home? 7. What was your city or town's name? Cannonbell. I flip right to the page. I remember having those specific details. Bingo! I sit back next to Maeve. She looks over my shoulder at the book I have in hand. What's that? It's a historical documentary of every victory the magistrate has had against any of the resistance. It's just propaganda. They're in about every library and every home. I have 3 of them downstairs thanks to nobles constantly giving them to me as gifts. Here, take a look. I point my finger to a small box that has a sketched picture of what I believe to be Maeve's town. I begin reading the description. The Battle of Cannonbell, a village that harbored the resistance and was sought out. The battle was an easy victory for the magistrate, and the village and civilians remained unharmed. There's silence. I look over to Maeve, who sits there staring at the floor. Well, it was 9 years ago. When's your birthday? February 8th. You know what that means? That makes you 16. You weren't too far off. Did you just guess? I kept track of how many winters passed. That's pretty smart. You only missed one. I can't imagine how hard that must have been to do since you constantly change locations. When did you arrive here? In the city, I mean. 2 years ago. It was very hard to communicate with anyone since I couldn't understand what people were saying. Maybe that's for the best. I didn't belong here anyway, or anywhere. There's a long pause. Maeve is still staring at the floor with a lowered expression, almost like she was grieving someone who just passed. I don't have a very good feeling about what's to come. She slowly opens her mouth and says the very thing I wished not to hear. Why am I even alive? I'm sorry? Maeve's voice begins to quiver as she continues. The paladins, the magistrate, I hate both of them. Both are big armies that control the whole world. My life won't change that. It wouldn't matter if I lived or died. They wouldn't care. People don't care about me. You know what I am? I'm a tigran, a cursed species that brings death and destruction wherever they go. I'm not only that, but half tigran. I'm hated by the very species I'm a part of. All throughout the world, I'm hated for simply existing. The only people who ever cared about the tigrants were the paladins. But even they hate half-breeds like me. I know you hate me too. You don't have any reason to like me. I feed off you like a roach. And what do you get in return? Nothing. I get nothing? Is that what you think? I let out a long sigh. Here, stand up. I have her stand straight and orientate her in front of me. I make sure to gather her full attention because every word that's about to come out of my mouth from this point forward is paramount. See, this is exactly why I didn't like the idea of asking you these questions because it puts stupid ideas in your head. Maeve, there is one thing I love doing more than anything else. Do you know what that is? Maeve shakes her head as shallow tears fall from her cheek. I wipe them away. It's teaching. Do you know why? No. Well, a doctor can save the life of a child, but a teacher can help that child truly live. You are that child. I may have saved you, but that only came to be because you are incapable of saving yourself. So I would teach you how to do that whether you like it or not. When it comes to teaching, it's important to prepare someone for how the world will be, not for how the world should be. However, in this case, the opposite applies. You've already learned how the world is, so there's no reason to cram that into your head. Listen, I'm going to teach you why we strive for the world that should be. Then once that's over, what should I do with my life? Start living it? But no buts, Maeve. Life is like an infinite puzzle. Yes, that does mean it's pointless, as you would never solve it, but you're looking at it too broadly. Imagine everyone on this planet is solving this puzzle. The actions they make, the actions you make, no matter how insignificant, are puzzle pieces finding their mark. Every piece on the board helps those adjacent find the place where they belong. But even if you end your life, the pieces you were meant to place, the life you were meant to live, will be discarded onto the floor, and the people around you who were once your allies will be burdened by the work that was never done. So if you're looking for a meaning in life, it is not the puzzle itself, but the people within it. I suppose the best way to put it is, the meaning of living is not that of the one, but that of the many. Maeve, I don't care that you're half Tigran. That's not important to me. What's important to me is that girl I chose to raise raise can one day raise herself. Not because I'm looking to gain something out of it, but because I wish for that girl to take something from it. What I'm trying to say is, one of the reasons I continue to choose to live is because I wish for you to live. Because right now, there is no one I'm prouder of. I pull my blue hairband from the bottom of my hair and tie it to the left side of Maeve's. No! Oh my god, that's how she got her hairband! Oh, I'm gonna cry! Oh no, I should have seen that coming! I pull my blue hairband from the bottom of my hair and tie it to the left side of Maeve's, placing my pointer finger on the top of her forehead. Thank you. I move my hand down and settling it onto my waistline shortly after. Maeve stares at me for a while, not really saying anything. She reaches up to the right side and fondles the little hair band in her hair. At first, I thought she didn't understand what I said, but after plowing her face into my stomach and wrapping her arms around me, I think she understood every word. Oh, it's adorable. I set my hand on her head. Given the current events, I guess there's only one thing I have left to say. You really gotta learn how to stop crying. I can feel her tears soaking into the bottom of my shirt. I sigh as I roll my eyes. The shirt just got done drying. You're gonna get it wrinkled again? I can feel her hands squeeze the back of my shirt. She mutters under her breath with a cracked voice. Shut up. I smile. I guess that isn't a bad idea. Oh my god, I see the reason why this chapter is the one that hooks everybody. The hairband! Oh my god! My eyes are physically watering. Like, no. Okay. That's gonna bring us to the end of this chapter in this little episode. But I cannot explain how much I am looking forward to reading the rest of this. My heart just exploded and I'm loving it, okay? I hope you guys are loving this just as much as me, because this is something that is just really, really well written. Okay. We're going to go on to chapter 5.